flex pick for KT Rolster. There's that Veigar ban as well. Once again, our last week of patch 5.3, so Veigar is kind of much banned, or a must ban at this point. Until he is brutally nerfed into the ground.
The Callista ban, a bit of a surprise. That hasn't been... Bang's been doing pretty well on it overall, and if Arrow did have some extreme trouble against OQ with that champion, and there is Thresh removed as well. So they're taking away some of these lane picks and trying to keep Arrow and Fixer alive. This is the keep Arrow and Fixer alive ban phase.
I think that's a good idea. Do you think we're going to maybe see them try to set up a comp that's going to allow them to lane swap too, possibly?
Nah, if you're going to ban that, you probably don't want to lane swap, just because otherwise that does ruin a bit of the point of the
takes away some of your bans,
in the first place. And if they pick Corki, which they probably assumed that SKT would, they can get something more beneficial. Maybe Arrow will play the Lucian or something like that, so they can have at least the champion pick edge in the 2v2. Lissandra hovered over Lissandra Jarvan.
I think Lissandra Jarvan is a great pickup. Hecarim might be interesting as well. You know, that reminds me, we still haven't seen Ambition play Jungle Nidalee.
Yeah, it's surprising, very surprising.
I know that was our last match, but we forgot to talk about that. Lulu Jarvan, okay. And immediately Vi Xerath, yeah. Oh boy.
So back to Easy Hoon Xerath. He is quite a skilled player on that champion.
I think Ezreal would be a pretty good choice here.
You've got some great poke already. Good way to get into the back line. SKT lacking a bit in terms of a tank to run some interference. They're going to need to play a disengaged support with this, either Janna or Nami. Nagne's Ezreal has been quite potent, would be a bit of a farm lane. We've seen that matchup played quite a bit, Ezreal versus Xerath in the mid lane. And they could be going for that backline poke. I think that's actually really smart. It's against Xerath's mobility, having the Ezreal Graves ultimates just to chunk him out or maybe even kill him.
Oh boy, if they go with Kog'Maw though, if they try to run the Juggermaw, that's particularly vulnerable against the Vi, I feel.
I think they'd be much better off going with the Graves right here, actually.
Yeah.
But they're going to lock in the Kog'Maw.
Oh boy, here we go. Inspired by CJ, they're like, well, if they can do it, we can do it. Here comes the Juggermaw. Well, and they picked it into Vi. What do you think about that?
I think that Maokai is still available, and that would cause them even further problems. They can pick Maokai Janna right here.
Yep.
And feel okay about this team composition and the amount of engage that they have onto KT Rolster. And Marin has been preferring to play that Maokai. They could also just take Hecarim, frankly. Either would be very good against this.
Nothing is stopping Hecarim from getting into the back lines onto Kog'Maw. Those shields don't work quite as well when you're feared during a lot of the duration of it.
Right, you can wait out the storm, as it were.
Yep.
I don't think they should take any. I think they have enough. No. They should take Janna here for the peel, as opposed to getting more engage. You have Vi Maokai. That is sufficient amounts of engage.
Or not. Wolf is taking the Annie anyway, in defiance of Monte Cristo's wishes.
He did play really well on it last time, and if he's comfortable on that champion, I can understand. But we did see the Maokai-Annie combo in our last game, and it really wasn't able to put much of a dent into the Juggermaw composition. They did get behind early, however.
I think Janna would be a great pickup. I'm surprised SKT left this open because it's
I think you definitely take the Janna right there.
It's another shield for Kog'Maw as well, too.
I don't know why they didn't. I think SKT should have taken the Janna, but we'll see if they actually pay for it. That's just another tool for disengage, and like you said, another shield.
You could argue, though, that if you catch Lulu, if you catch Janna with this heavy engage comp, you can deny those shields from being on Kog'Maw because the person who would put them there is dead. So that's one way to go about handling it, I can see.
The issue is that if you use those cooldowns, well, then you don't have them for Kog'Maw, and then he just runs around and kites you with Trinity Force. So there's a bit of give and take right there. That's why this composition works so well. It's just hard to play properly. Well, we'll see if they can do it.
I mean, a lot of pressure is going to be on Arrow to have the proper positioning in teamfights because, again, we've seen you have to really walk that tightrope as the AD carry on Kog'Maw to stay close enough to do damage, but just far enough away that you deny a lot of that engage. And it's going to be, I think Arrow's going to have a bit of a challenge with that.
Yeah, I'm a bit leery about this, especially, like I said, with that bye being picked up, but maybe KT will be able to pull this one out and turn it into a win. I'm nervous, though. Very nervous.
Me too. We'll see if they can handle it. Here we go, guys. Game 1, SKT versus KT. Who's going to take it? Let's get in the game. And here we are. Welcome once again to Summoner's Rift, SK Telecom versus KT Rolster. And despite what people assume may happen in that series, I always love the Telecom war. You know, again, it just can't be overstated just how big this matchup is in Korean esports.
It's the biggest.
It is the biggest, yeah, and one of the longest lasting as well, if not the longest. Stretches back a long time.
Someday going to giggle while he runs away from a sapling. And Becky, no surprise, the only Korean jungler so far to play Vi.
All sorts of delicious food here in the studio today. We're not getting to eat any of it, though.
Sad times.
Yep. I'm feeling hungry now. Now I am hoping for 2-0. Stomach's growling.
Wow, how fickle you are, Doa.
I know. I can't help it. If I don't eat, I'll starve to death.
You wouldn't be a very good ascetic, Doa, because you can't starve yourself for beauty.
That's true.
I'm disappointed. You have to.
I wasn't made for television, apparently.
Leave this. You have to ignore the gross concerns of the flesh in order to experience the best possible match right now.
What
so
if
please,
you just avoid, like, healthy things? And then you have more time for the match. Like, I don't know, exercise, carrots.
Everything. That's the
everything.
Thing. That's the true aesthetic way.
I have to avoid everything?
Everything in the physical plane.
The secret to Monte Cristo's analysis finally revealed. Everything.
You can't bend to hunger when there is beautiful gameplay to watch.
What if the gameplay is the hunger? What if it's the Hunger Games? Wolf trying to deny that blue buff, but it looks like KT is going to be able to take it anyway. Got you there, didn't they? And they tried to get a knockup onto Easy and didn't exactly work out. So.
Lane swap coming in. Nothing too fancy so far. Looks like Wave will be pressed up, so Sunday's going to try his luck here, getting some farm down at the bottom turret, but freeze happening up at the top side.
You know, they did end up lane swapping, didn't they?
Yeah.
We talked about how that's kind of taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, a little bit weird considering you ban out some of these picks that you're so concerned about, where if you're going to lane swap, but there's never any guarantee that you're going to get the lane swap anyway. But I do think this is definitely working out.
Well, if they can kind of shut down Marin's Maokai too, we just saw the stats. He's been extremely good on that champion throughout the season. Certainly been one of his best.
Well, KT got the freeze advantage here too, so someday going to have a bit of an easier time, and KT just going to freeze that right next to the turret again. Marin, very little mana right now in order to deal with this or break it in any way, but with Wolf there, he'll be able to walk up a little bit more confidently. We also saw that, I mean, the Kog'Maw can do well against the Corki early just because you do outrange him in terms of poke.
Yeah.
Before 6, so some advantages you can take right there, but Arrow just going to use that shield right there, absorb some of that minion damage. Someday pushing all the way up and starting to really come out ahead in terms of his CS. So Marin has to go back. Will teleport right back into top lane with the second Doran's Ring. Give him perhaps the edge he's looking for right here.
Yeah, both top laners using their teleports early on in this match, so no big deal there.
It is very annoying to deal with this situation though as a top laner. Finally they get that minion wave into the tower so that the pressure can reverse. Easy Hun and Nagne just farming it out as expected. this mid lane. Maybe going for the Stalker's Blade.
Okay.
Actually, that's not something Vi mostly played in other regions, and in North America, a lot of these Vi players prefer to go with the Trailblazer for some faster clear speed.
But Bengi invading. He wants to do a bit of dueling here, but he's going to get caught. Makes it over the wall. Score's going to flash for this one. Nagne coming down, and someday coming up to intercept. Bengi may have been like the Dwarves of Moria, man. He delved too greedily and too deep. And I don't think he's making it out. First blood goes to Score. That ward not quite worth it for Bengi.
Well, and normally you would be able to play into the side of your AD carry, but in this case, Bang just had no mana in order to actually respond in any meaningful way. Someday completely topped off for health and mana. So Bengi misreading that situation a bit. Xerath also didn't have pressure on the mid lane, Easy Hoon, so Nagne was able to walk into his jungle.
Yeah.
And because his support was topside in this case, he was playing with fire a little bit, actually. And that's a good read, though. You know what Bengi's going to do these days, which is try and get those deep wards in as early as possible. But he has to be able to watch his lanes right there, because if you don't have a pressure advantage, the collapse is much faster from the enemy team, and that's exactly what happened. Also, the fact that Bang just couldn't do anything, didn't have any items yet, didn't have any mana, there was just absolutely nothing. So Bengi picking a pretty poor time to go ahead and walk into the enemy jungle.
Yep. Certainly doesn't do SK Telecom any favors. They are down about 1,000 gold against KT already. Someday having a little bit of an easier time farming.
Yeah, and that's due to what happened with the freeze early on in this game. Didn't see SKT freeze the minion wave, and they've been punished for it. So lane swap advantage definitely going to KT, and they'll be happy with that, taking that advantage into the later game. KT, we haven't seen them really with an advantage heading into the mid game before, but given what we saw their play against Najin looking like, I think that they're going to be pretty happy with that and in a very good position to win this game if they can keep up with the good team fighting and the eye on the win conditions that we've seen them have as of late.
Yeah, a win over SK Telecom here by KT would be pretty huge.
Likely they're still out of the playoffs no matter what happens in this game, but that chance to play the spoiler is, of course, very attractive to them, and at least they'll get a confidence boost with this roster that hasn't been able to produce much so far this season.
I think it has much bigger implications, too, regarding this situation with CJ, with Jin Air, with the kind of top four in this bracket. An SK Telecom loss could shake things up a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely could. Interesting, Someday deciding not to recall earlier. A bit of a sloppy switch in the lanes from KT. Someday did lose some farm right there. Bengi picked it up, but it did force him to show on the top side. So that could have been a little bit cleaner, I think, from KT. Had Someday recalled a little bit earlier, could have just instantly teleported up into top.
Yep.
They're not going to be taking that. Instead, we'll walk back to lane. SKT choosing to not make a play right there. They were in the middle of the lane transition themselves.
Well, I wonder if these teams are kind of thinking a bit about Dragon as well, if they want to have their top lane just save those teleports for now.
Yeah, sure, that definitely comes into play, but it's still pretty early in the game for that, especially with a dual lane moving into the bottom side of the map anyway. I just think that wasn't very well coordinated myself. You could burn the teleport here and probably still be pretty safe.
Fan of caster Kim Dong-jun. Which the Korean fans are very amused by. Yep.
Nagne actually going for a Vamp Scepter, not a normal item that we see this early in Ezreal, but has been taking a lot of harass from slightly longer range of Easy Hoon, and needs to stay topped off because that Vi getting on top of him, if he gets low enough in terms of HP, could just be instantaneous death.
Yeah. Vi's got a good amount of burst at this point in the game.
Yeah, it's especially scary once you finishes that Warrior enchant, gets the armor penetration. Bengi actually taking the blue buff right there.
Okay. Let's see what he can do with it.
Easy Hoon feeling like he doesn't need that at the moment. And here we
And
go.
yep, Marin going in onto Someday. Someday with the flash still up. He's still got Wild Growth as well. There's the ult from Bengi. Someday with his own ultimate. And can he get out? He still has that flash. Flash, though, there's the concussive blows coming in from Vi, and are they just going to dive this? It looks like they are. Xerath coming in. Bengi taking that one. I think it was meant to go to Easyhoon. But either way, a kill for SK Telecom.
Yeah, nice support right there. I was a bit worried about that dive, especially considering Marin was so low in mana, but it ended up working out. KT responding immediately with that dragon. Of course, they know EasyHoon doesn't have an ult to steal it. Everybody's on the top side of the map.
Whoa, so teleport coming in though for Marin. They're going to try to make something happen here. Flash, and there's a stun on the score. Nagne turning around on it. SKT is in a bit of trouble here. Kills coming in. Whoa, look at the damage coming in from EasyHoon. Healed up though by Fixer, and boy, are they lucky Jana was there, because that was very nearly a double kill easily for EasyHoon.
And Someday coming in as well.
Yeah.
With the TP of his own.
Wow, that was close.
Yeah, tried to be cute there considering Wolf did have a bit of a flank, and KT's very squishy at this point in time. If we look at their itemization tier, so not a lot of combat stats onto Nagne, as well as Sheen first instead of Phage. So you catch him out with that hard CC from Annie, and there's a real chance that multiple people go down.
Yeah, they very nearly lost more than a person or two of team fight there.
Yeah, able to withdraw, like you said. Fixer picking the right time and place to ult right there in order to disengage. Bengi coming back up into the top side lane brush. There is a pink ward right there, but he will be mirrored in his movements by Score. 30 seconds, as we can see, till Assault and Battery comes up. Bold.
He's going in on him. Score is right there. Someday turning around. No summoners. Marin in the lane as well, but Bengi wisely not following that one up.
Good prediction. Now that we're going to fight over this pink ward for a little bit.
I think they're just
Score
gonna
has
let him
no
have it.
Cataclysm. That Someday with the Wild Growth does represent a bit of a threat, so they're going to have to give it up.
Minion wave was pretty big there too. Meanwhile, action in the bot lane. Arrow getting very low. Doesn't look like they can finish him off though. Wolf attempted a Tibber stun there.
Yeah, nailed it too. Arrow had to use Flash.
Yep.
So they get a free summoner as a result of that use of Tibbers. Can they transition it elsewhere, however? EasyHoon finds a pink ward of his own, so good clearing.
Oh, Score's going to go in on that one, though. Who's close by? Wolf is coming up. They're going to get the flash from Score. Couple summoners taken away from KT in the last minute or two.
Not sure if Score had to flash right there. With Tibbers already down, he may not have known that at the time. But
could be. It just happened.
Yeah. Probably could have just walked out through the top brush. Wasn't too much threat. But better safe than sorry.
Yeah, you get hit by a Xerath stun, and suddenly things are a little bit more dangerous. Not to mention Annie does still have stuns.
Yeah, the follow-up with
Tibbers.
the Q stun could have been dangerous, but even so, I think could have taken his chances right there a little bit more, but at least he didn't die foolishly, isn't that right?
Wouldn't call him the immortal Score if he was prone to dying a lot.
He's less immortal now that he has to engage, though.
Yeah, that's true.
It's part of the sad life of being a jungler.
Or support. Oh, here we go. Arrow, they're going to blow him back after the ult from Bengi. Arrow's still very low, though. Wolf trying to poke him down with autos. Fixer in a little bit of trouble here. True Shot Barrage doesn't hit anybody. Arrow still low. Can they finish him? Bengi tries. Bang gets the kill. Meanwhile, the turnaround comes in. Score able to get the Cataclysm down onto Bengi. And wow, Score nearly dies, but he's got just enough health via that potion to stay alive.
Wow, such a narrow escape from Score and Fixer right there. Bengi tried to use the concussive blows to kill Fixer in the back line. He managed to hit Score in front, but it just wasn't enough to kill Fixer. KT really escaping by the skin of their teeth right there. Could have easily gone 3 for 1.
Now, the fights have been very close so far in this game. Yikes.
SKT still with a slight gold advantage, but down a dragon, so pretty much even. And EasyHoon, I think, is going to have a big game this time around, Doa. And he doesn't have a lot of protection to do it with, which is scary for him.
Well, he's certainly done it before.
He has done it before. He has proved that he can carry this SK Telecom team. It's just KT has looked sharp past the laning phase, and even though Bang has this immense gold lead right now, as we've come to expect, Arrow's farming really not up to par compared to a lot of other AD carries in this league. And you know what, it's kind of doubly surprising too, because Arrow was the one who got the lane freeze in this game, and for him to be down, what, 30 CS right now is really a bad sign.
Yeah.
He had so much time just to free farm his heart out.
Well, if you're going to siege too, that again, takes away from the farming opportunities for that Kog'Maw, and he's just not going to have a whole lot of items unless they can take a lot of turrets really quickly or get some kills.
Well, he's down the Trinity Force advantage right now also. Bang.
Big time, yeah.
Already with that pre-15 minutes thanks to those 2 kills. Kog'Maw still scrambling to catch up a little bit. Nagne will go ahead and take the blue buff. He does have the Muramana, or Manamune rather, finally.
Yeah, probably not going to see the Muramana for a little bit yet. Indeed. But he's trying to stack those tiers. Right now, the only tiers, though, I think really are on Arrow's side.
Score, trying to get some vision around the pit right now. Good setup, 30 seconds before the objective spawns. Nagne continue to take harassment, but he's able to heal right back up thanks to his quick Vamp Scepter. I'm curious whether Marin's going to go for that Righteous Glory early on or not. I imagine he will.
Oh, yeah, he's got the Catalyst, and yeah, we can see Maokai turn that into Rod of Ages, but it's been a popular item to build tonight.
Oh, it just depends on the composition, but against this...
Oh, Wolf has to flash. Almost a little bit of trouble there. True-Shot Barrage comes through again. Nagne's True-Shot Barrages have not really been on point yet this game.
That's really important, that True-Shot Barrage going down, or the flash going down for Annie, rather, because that's going to help so much to not have up during this next engagement. Arrow struggling to keep Bang off the tower right here. Rockets raining in on the minion line, and this tower has been really chipped so far, so it's a hard decision, I think, for KT as to what to do. They can't really get into the pit to control that vision as long as that bottom turret's pushed all the way back into the lane.
Oh, we've seen this happen so many times before. You just chip away at the turrets and keep doing that, and then if you win a fight near Dragon, if you get an important pick, suddenly 3 turrets are down. You take a big gold lead and try to snowball from there. So, yeah, threats certainly looming for KT right now.
And look at that, SKT did get all those wards out from behind the pit, so they will just have Vi go right over the wall into the Dragon Pit. Yeah, not actually looking for that. Interestingly, they're not so confident. Kog'Maw in the bottom lane still. Bengi, what's he recalling for right now, I wonder? Boots.
Boots. Of course, the boots.
Ninja Tabby.
Yeah. Wants to be able to last a little bit longer against Arrow, maybe Nagne a bit too.
Yeah, there's no real prerogative for SKT here to make a move onto this Dragon as long as they continue to chip away at these towers. They're in the position of control right now. They're forcing KT to react. So there's no need to be preemptive to go onto this Dragon where you can just keep on pushing down the lane, because eventually once these towers go down, it'll be much easier for you to get that Dragon anyway. So I like what SKT's doing. They're not overcommitting. They're just making sure they have the vision, making sure they know whether KT's doing it, and just pushing, pushing, pushing constantly. And it's really tying up a lot of scores time right now.
Well, that's kind of what you want to do against KT, though, right? You want to try to find a way to occupy score and not allow him to do what he does best, which is try to provide opportunities. And we may see a bit of a dive here. That turret getting extremely low.
No, I just want to know where score was, make sure that he wasn't setting up for an EQ and a Cataclysm combo while they completed the siege. Yep, and there we go, like clockwork, get that tower down, push it up, and now you can safely take that Dragon. Really patient, nice play from SKT. There's not really going to be a way to contest this.
Yeah, so that's going to
love that. Great planning.
Evens up things as well as far as the Dragons go. SKT manages to do that. And now, you combine that with the fact that the top turret, I believe, is a bit low, as is the mid turret, and SK Telecom is in a position where they could start to kind of snowball things here. Create a bigger lead, maybe.
Yeah, the real problem is Bang being up 50 CS. Arrow really was not doing a good job of CSing under his turret, and he continued to fall further and further behind. And
we talked about that, too. He specifically has had issues in CSing this season, and so putting him on a champion that's so dependent on that like Kog'Maw is a big risk.
Yeah, and putting him in a composition where Kog'Maw's damage output is pretty darn important to the success of the game. It's not like you have to get kills, but at least you can't fall this far behind on the Kog'Maw, especially in a lane swap situation. There's really no excuse.
Now, there goes the mid lane turret. Two-shot barrage is not going to save this one. And that gold lead starting to grow quite a bit, up to 2K suddenly.
And really no wards on the map either from KT Rolster. Its vision is now being dominated by SK Telecom.
Yep.
Keep on getting deeper and deeper into enemy territory with those wards as well.
Yeah.
It's just been patient, methodical play. SKT knows what they want to do, and they are executing it beautifully.
I feel like, too, overall, Benki's doing a pretty good job of, not going too far after that first blood, but, is now being a little bit safer.
Well, he's definitely taking fewer risks, playing a little bit more intelligently and respectfully, which is certainly what was needed after that iffy jungle movement early on in the game that cost his team the first blood. But ever since then, it's been just doing very well, controlling KT's warding, making sure that he's got the pressure in the right place, and drawing score there as well. He's kind of forcing Score's movements at the moment. And this is another game. Score playing lane triage once again. It seems like that's unfortunately Score's position on this team, is that one of his lanes starts to get behind and then he has to kind of sit there and just make sure nobody tries to kill them. And so he's been on that bottom side of the map for a long time now. Someday holding his own a bit better this game, however.
Yeah, he's staying up on CS for now.
And here's Bang. Smooth rotations.
We've
onto
seen
the last outer turret. It couldn't really be going better for SKT.
Yeah. We've seen this type of thing so often, actually, from KT, where, like we talked about, Score is occupied going around, making sure people don't die, and because of that, KT just really never has any sort of opportunities to get the ball rolling,
At least they took a tower down here. Arrow, fortunately, the only one around that turret, so he will get some much-needed gold.
Yeah.
Be quite happy that he was able to take that one without any help whatsoever.
We'll see what he buys with it.
Bootstrap him back into this game.
Oh boy.
And there is the finished Berserker Greaves, and he'll be going most likely into a Blade next.
SKT might catch Nagne here. Oh, stun comes out. Nagne checking that with the Mystic shot. Had a feeling something was up. There really wasn't any vision of SKT besides Marin anywhere on the map at the moment.
Yeah, smart play. Interesting, Nagne is going for the Trinity Force instead of an Iceborne Gauntlet. I feel against SKT's composition of Maokai Annie that maybe the Iceborne may be a little bit more worthwhile, considering you're trying to counter out their hard engage with a little bit more kiting. But of course, the lack of AD poke on the enemy team certainly makes that armor not as useful. Even so, Iceborne may be the better item choice right here. Oops, double pink and that ward from KT.
Oh, well. That means it takes 10 hits to clear that brush.
It's the ultimate bait.
Yeah. It's the one you have the most time to respond to, I suppose. We could say it that way. That sounds good, right? We'll spin it in a positive way for these pro players.
Nah, I was going to say it's a bad mistake.
All right.
Take that, KT.
Well, it is, so that's okay. Minute 30 until Dragon comes up again. Let's see who's able to take it. A pretty passive game across the board, but slowly but surely SK Telecom pushing the map back towards KT Rolster.
Yeah, this is really dangerous for KT.
Well, they're at that point where they kind of need somebody to be a playmaker to get out of this one.
Well, they have to group and continue to take down turrets is really the thing. But the problem is, with all their outer turrets going down so early, they're really vulnerable to flanks. Yeah. And this is a really scary team to get flanked by. Maokai and Vi. So in that circumstance, they have to be very sure of their warding, but SKT is doing a great job of removing enemy wards from the map and generally maintaining that vision advantage. And as they get bigger and bigger and tankier, even all those Lulu and Janna shields aren't going to save this Kog'Maw. They will simply be able to wait them out and grind down enough damage onto Kog'Maw in order to take this game. I don't really know how they're going to be pushing this one out forward, rather. Bang is not actually going to be going for that bot lane farm, even though the wave is pretty far in advance. You see pings going down right now from KT onto the bot lane wave. It is slow pushing right now in favor of SK Telecom, but it's not going to be coming very quickly when it comes to maintaining control over this dragon.
Well, KT, the ones with control over the dragon at the moment. They don't have the Rift Sculler, but they do have pretty much everything else. Can they take it, though? Dragons are tied up one apiece. And all right, so mid lane pushed up a bit. Tried to scare Nagne away. A little bit of damage coming in. But they've got the shield there for Lulu, so.
Wildcat actually going into the bottom lane. They do have a slow push developing, so they could choose to create an even bigger minion wave for pressure and just continue to play against around the dragon until that happens. But they want to make a stronger move now, it seems. And considering they have this engage composition instead of a poke comp, I think that's probably a wise idea. If you're playing a poke comp in this situation, you just wait for the maximum amount of pressure to build because you can't all in, but really SKT just wants to catch somebody out right here next to the dragon pit. So starting that objective and forcing it is going to be the best strategy for their composition. Here's the TP.
Someday's going to teleport in here. Can KT stop this dragon? Getting a little bit low. Looks like SKT's going to get it. Now the engage. Marin goes in on to score. Will they just back off or will they fight here? They don't really need to, and KT certainly isn't going to really want to fight this. Score looking for maybe an opportunity to come in, but he's being zoned very well by Marin. Two-shot barrage takes a little bit of damage out of Bengi, but overall SKT going to be able to back off. Marin pops that ultimate and they'll be able to save their mid lane turret too, so pretty smooth by SKT there.
This whole game has been really pretty smooth by SKT. They've been controlling these objectives beautifully and always thinking one step ahead about what they need to put pressure on, what they need to defend. And so because of that minion wave in bottom, it forces Arrow down there. They do have to go back and deal with that. Gives them a chance to recall after that dragon without worrying too much about their mid lane tier 1.
Yeah.
SK Telecom seemingly thinking just a little bit in advance of their opponents in this game, and it's really paying off. KT not able to respond with pretty much anything.
So far, so good for SK Telecom.
Marin actually going for the Frozen Heart. Interesting choice, but against double AD, you're planning on being in those team fights. Of course, makes sense.
Yeah.
But will limit his engage somewhat. Of course, that Righteous Glory is going to be pretty critical against the composition that we see KT running.
I'm still a little bit surprised that we're seeing KT run this comp at all, you know? It doesn't seem like one that plays their strengths really at all. Well,
they actually played the Ezreal Corki poke comp pretty darn well in their last series, so I think that they showed a good ability to kite, which is why we're seeing this come into play.
It's a bit more intricate than all that, you know?
It is.
A little bit.
I will say it is harder to run. I think that they weren't able to get Corki this game, though. Was first picked by SKT, so yeah, they wanted that. May have just fallen by the wayside.
Well, Score trying to take out that pink ward. Doesn't look like there's anything SKT can do to stop it. But still, just KT is having just a really hard time of putting any sort of pressure on the mid and top lane.
Wow, I'm really surprised Bengi is the one clearing out this side wave right here. He's kind of constantly showing where he is. And, you know, if KT sees that and they have wards on their flanks, they really should make a more aggressive play for one of these turrets in terms of their poking. But it's not going to happen. Marin waiting to see if Someday will walk forward.
Meanwhile, yeah, Bengi just clearing out some wards in the Baron pit. We are kind of getting to that time where teams are going to be a bit concerned about it. All right, SKT, they know they have the vision control over Baron right now. They're going to not quite start it. That was an accident by Bang, I believe.
Yep. And this is what they want. As long as they can keep a ring of wards around that Baron pit, they can force a face check. KT is playing with a composition that must have vision advantage, or they will just get all in by the crazy amount of hard CC on SK Telecom. There's a check right there onto the Baron. That's how worried they are at this point in time.
Wow. Oh boy, that nearly was pretty bad for Wolf.
One more of those may have actually finished him off.
He's going to recall an award.
Does have to get out of dodge, and Bengi trying to deal with this last.
Oh, man.
So annoying.
Got to be careful. He's lucky he didn't get hit by that spike attack from Baron, too, because that does stun you for a moment.
Trying to zone him off, but they can't quite eliminate these pesky wards in the back of the pit. Just more and more keep on dropping.
Time to defend mid lane.
Yeah, well, they forced Baron to chunk some members out, so Nagne and the rest of KT doing their job in terms of playing this poke composition. Here's a flank coming in.
A teleport coming in, and will Marin be able to do anything? Not really. It was all for that ward. He just wanted to take out the pink ward. He got it.
The Void Ooze preventing the engage they would have liked to have had.
Yeah.
Wolf from Bengi with the Oracles. Bengi for the Raptor. Wolf from his Lens. Continue to clear.
All right, well, Bang isn't there right now. Going down to take that red buff. Dragging up in about a minute 20. So we're in that situation again where people are going to be fighting over that vision. KT, though, seemingly at a bit more of a disadvantage than they were last time.
Yeah, they may get a couple free pinks right here, however. SKT slipping up a bit, not having anyone there to defend their ward, so they lose quite a bit of gold as a result. Now, KT, I mean, they've made it work. SKT hasn't even found a window where they could have snuck a Baron. And they're going to be really liking their power spike right now. Not sure about this blade on Nagne, but I suppose if he's very concerned about the engage, it can open up a gap, open up some distance for him to escape.
Iron Elixir already on Marin. So he is a big tree. All right, 30 seconds till Dragon. KT can tie it up, or tie the Dragon count rather with one here.
Those are these scumbag 80 carries taking the crab on both sides of the map, both teams.
Denying.
Don't take the crab from your jungler. He gets 30 extra gold. One of my big pet peeves.
You know, I would imagine SKT is probably just fine with trading this Dragon for a Baron. Really, Baron is where all the concern is right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and KT really can't leave it for a second.
Yep.
So KT, this looks pretty similar to their last game actually, where we saw them consistently winning poke wars in the mid lane with the double AD composition.
Yep.
Now they are going to get split up a little bit. This is dangerous for KT. They can't allow themselves to get split like this, because if they are engaged on, they will just instantly lose if they're split, especially when Lulu wasn't there.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Dragon started. This would be the third for SK Telecom if they can take it. Someday coming in, it looks like it will be a third Dragon for SKT. And again, same situation as the last one. Are they going to turn? They will onto Nagne. There's the ult from Xerath. It's going to be a kill for Bang. A couple Xerath ult remain and score! Takes a lot of damage. Bang with the double kill. So a Dragon and 2 kills to boot for SK Telecom. They can just turn right onto this Baron now, even if they wanted to. And KT just looking like they can't get any sort of traction going here in the beginning of the late game.
Nagne was really out of position right there. I was very surprised to see him turn around on that one. It made it all too easy for Marin and Wolf just to get the pick. It seemed like there was a bit of a mixed call right there from KT about what was going on, because he was just too far back to be protected, and that's an uncontested Baron in favor of SK Telecom.
So 3 Dragons, a Baron, turret advantage, kill advantage, gold advantage, everything going SKT's way, and Marin coming in, knows he can catch Nagne. Why did Nagne turn there?
I don't know. He walked straight into Maokai. That's exactly the opposite of the way you want to play a poke composition. He had the whimsy on him too. He certainly could have escaped. You know, I don't know. That's a pretty terrible error.
I don't know if like Ezreal's really concerned with the environment or something, but that is not the tree you want to try hugging.
Maybe he's trying to chop it down, Doa.
Maybe it's Lumberjack Ezreal. Gonna need a bigger axe.
Slices down whole forests with his True Shot Barrage. Makes Captain Planet cry.
We know that's impossible because, well, 1, Captain Planet is incapable of emotion, and 2, is we've seen it go through trees many times. It doesn't seem to affect them, you know? It's kind of like
that's true.
It's kind of like there was like that bomb or whatever that only affected living things. It didn't. Well, I suppose trees are living things, but it didn't affect buildings. And essentially, in Summoner's Rift, trees are just buildings in disguise.
I don't know what that bomb you're talking about is.
Neutron bomb, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. not saying it's real. Look it up. This is yet another thing that I am not making up.
See, Doa, at this point, I feel like you're just playing the long con now. You're going to make it, you're going to tell me a bunch of stuff, and then eventually you're just going to sneak it. It's like 6 months from now, you're going to sneak in something really ridiculous, and I'm going to believe it. So I just choose to believe nothing.
I'm definitely going to.
I become the Doa nihilist. I believe nothing you say.
I would definitely do that, too. You're smart. You're smart to have that mindset. Yeah. I can't really argue with that.
It's Doa's long con to make me look dumb on cast.
If you believe in nothing Doa says. Can't argue with that. You got me there. Yep. You don't want to be the caster that cried Doa.
I know how you work. I know your tricks. I'm on to you.
The trolling is strong, it's true.
No, it's not trolling until it is. That's the thing. If it was the constant trolling, it would be easy.
Wouldn't that mean it was a very subtle troll? Trolling by not trolling is the only true trolling.
The long troll, as it were.
Yeah, that's true. Another turret for SKT.
People just get caught up in the short troll, you know.
Yeah.
They think it's funny, but it's really the long troll where the good laughs are.
The payoff at the end is the sweetest thing. It's true.
I'm gonna get you for this.
Oh, really? You're gonna get me for you're gonna get me for informing you of obscure trivia. I'm expanding your mind. I'm making you a more knowledgeable, well-rounded caster. This is what I get in return.
That's right.
Wow.
I hate knowledge.
I'm just gonna have to cast with everybody but you at IEM. Just gonna stay away. People be like, I thought those guys were buddies. I'm like, no, Monty and Do are feuding now.
The great war, the great casting war has begun.
That's right. We're just putting on a face for the broadcast. SK Telecom, I mean, what do you really say? Where do you go from here in this game if you're KT? It's going to be
quietly
pretty
into the grave.
I was going to say, oh, Timberstone, they catch someday, and that's a lot of damage. Ults himself, and that means no wild growth for Arrow if they need it. I think we're going to see another turret taken by SKT pretty quick. And yeah, not a lot that the KT can do here.
And we've said this before, but very low margin for error with a composition like this. And
yep. But KT...
mistakes were made.
The mistakes were made. Perhaps in picks and bans. And while KT has a low margin of error, SKT has a whole Marin of error ready for them. Not a lot of errors made by Marin, but he capitalizes on them very well.
Yeah, now he has that Righteous Glory too. It's actually amazing that he just held the Catalyst until this back. Because they've been really confident in Benki and Wolf's ability to catch them out, and that confidence has been well founded.
You know, no, I feel if Nagne had a Iceborne Gauntlet there, or Frozen Fist, he may have been able to get a kill on Benki.
Well, I think that he could have done more with the Iceborne Gauntlet this game, period.
Yeah.
I understand, of course, his reluctance to build that item, considering that it isn't optimal in terms of statistics with that armor in this particular game, but I think it would have served them well purely for its utility.
Very true. Oh, hey. Dragon up in a few seconds, so are they going to give up 2 turrets for this? I don't think they need to. SKT coming back in, and they're certainly in a situation where they can win a team fight and then take the Dragon as well.
I think this game also started to get out of hand when Arrow lost lane so hard. He's still 50 CS down. He doesn't have a Last Whisper yet, and he's dealing with a Thornmail Frozen Heart Maokai. What is he supposed to do? He can have all the shields in the world to live, but he's just simply not going to do damage.
Things are looking
against
grim.
Marin and Benki. So, at least not until that Last Whisper comes into play. SKT not really even bothering to clear out wards properly. They have that speed shrine too, so poking them going to be very difficult.
We've seen this before. And Dragon taken by SK Telecom. Benki's going to grab it. There's the ult from Fixer, but that's just going to allow SKT to come right back in and get a kill on him. Marin a little bit low. Score. There's a double kill for Bang, and SKT just all over this team fight, as we knew they would be. And yeah, this one's over, guys.
And Benki with that GA. I mean, he got that early GA, and it really paid off right there. He was able to absorb all the cooldowns pretty much, and then actually managed to stay alive, pushing forward smoothly into KT's base. And Bang with the Trinity Force Bloodthirster Infinity Edge build. What a great build, by the way, against this composition. I mean, that burst that he's going to be able to do with the crits and the sheen are just going to tear through KT. They don't have really any armor.
Can they just end here? I don't know. Score and Arrow are going to be up very soon, but again, Arrow just doesn't have a lot of power against a Maokai like that. Well, I mean, the turret can. He's certainly giving it an opportunity, but there goes the second Nexus turret. Just advance onto Someday just to lock him up long enough for Bang and the rest of SKT to take down this Nexus. At 40 minutes, it'll be an easy win for SK Telecom, and that does not bode well for KT in this series, does it?
No, and beyond that early hiccup by Bengi, ill-advised ward timing, SK Telecom looked so clean.
Yes,
very, very crisp, methodical play from these guys right from the beginning of this game. Even though they fell a little bit behind, they didn't have an optimal lane swap, and KT played the lane swap better, at least initially. Arrow's kind of falling behind in terms of his CSing proved to be a bit of their undoing.
I just think it was a poor composition choice for KT. Obviously, Arrow is not up for that kind of role, and I don't know, especially against an team like SK Telecom. I just think you're going to have a really hard time running it. That's exactly what we saw, an easy victory for SKT. And they look like they're not going to have too much trouble holding on to that second place spot.
And Arrow, too, had 5,000 less gold than Bang that game.
Yeah.
Of course, falling behind in terms of his CS, but also just the kills rolling in for Bang.
Well, I still hope they bring in Faker for game number 2, because if they don't, that's going to be 4 SK Telecom games without Faker in a row. And I just don't know if I can take that. I don't know if my heart can be without Faker for that long.
They have to just keep on storing Faker's powers for playoffs at this point, though.
I suppose.
That's the key.
He's going to come back and he'll be able to play like anything in the mid lane, like literally anything. It's like mid Volibear, yeah, I got this. No worries.
No problem at all. Well, yeah, very impressive game from SKT. Such a methodical way to play the game. Great rotations, constantly knocking down objectives. And just beautiful.
Indeed, and Bengi is like, yeah, that first blood was kind of embarrassing, but you made up for it, Bengi. It was okay.
It was okay in the end.
Yeah. Nagne and the rest of SKT, or the rest of KT, having a bit of a hard time. Nagne with really good farm, though. 431 CS in 40 minutes. That's not bad. He certainly did everything he could as far as getting the items that game.
Yeah, got caught out that one time, but that really wasn't the reason that they lost that game. They were they lost too many towers too quickly, fell in a hole, and couldn't climb back out.
That's right. We'll be back for game 2. A flex pick for KT Rolster. There's that Vagar ban as well. Once again, our last week of patch 5.3, so Vagar is kind of much banned, or a must ban at this point, until he is brutally nerfed into the ground.
The Callista ban, a bit of a surprise. That hasn't been. Bang's been doing pretty well on it overall, and if Arrow did have some extreme trouble against OQ with that champion, and there is Thresh removed as well. So they're taking away some of these lane picks and trying to keep Arrow and Fixer alive. This is the keep Arrow and Fixer alive ban phase.
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. Do you think we're going to maybe see them try to set up a comp that's going to allow them to lane swap too, possibly?
Nah, if you're going to ban that, you probably don't want to lane swap, just because otherwise that does ruin a bit of the point of the
takes away some of your bans
in the first place. And if they pick Corky, which they probably assumed that SKT would, they can get something more beneficial. Maybe Earl will play the Lucian or something like that, so they can have at least the champion pick edge in the 2v2. Lissandra hovered over Lissandra Jarvan.
I think Lissandra Jarvan is a great pickup. Hecarim might be interesting as well. You know, that reminds me, we still haven't seen Ambition play Jungle Nidalee.
Yeah, it's surprising, very surprising.
I know that was our last match, but we forgot to talk about that. Lulu Jarvan, okay. And immediately Vi Xerath, yeah. Oh boy.
So back to Easy Hoon Xerath. He is quite a skilled player on that champion.
I think Ezreal would be a pretty good choice here.
You've got some great poke already. Good way to get into the back line. SK
Exercise, carrots.
Everything. That's the
everything.
Thing. That's the true aesthetic way.
I have to avoid everything?
Everything in the physical plane.
The secret to Monte Cristo's analysis finally revealed. Everything.
You can't bend to hunger when there is beautiful gameplay to watch.
What if the gameplay is the hunger? What if it's the Hunger Games? Wolf trying to deny that blue buff, but it looks like KT is going to be able to take it anyway. Guy there did not. And they tried to get a knockup onto Easy and didn't exactly work out. So.
Yep. Lane swap coming in. Nothing too fancy so far. Looks like Wave will be pressed up, so Someday is going to try his luck here, getting some farm down at the bottom turret, but freeze happening up at the top side.
You know, they did end up lane swapping, didn't they?
Yeah.
We talked about how that's kind of taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, a little bit weird considering you ban out some of these picks that you're so concerned about where if you're going to lane swap, but there's never any guarantee that you're going to get the lane swap anyway. But I do think this is definitely working out.
Well, if they can kind of shut down Marin's Maokai too, we just saw the stats. He's been extremely good on that champion throughout the season. Certainly been one of his best.
Well, KT got the freeze advantage here too, so Someday going to have a bit of an easier time, and KT just going to freeze that right next to the turret again. Marin, very little mana right now in order to deal with this or break it in any way, but with Wolf there, he'll be able to walk up a little bit more confidently. We also saw that, I mean, the Kog'Maw can do well against the Corki.
And here we are. Welcome once again to Summoner's Rift, SK Telecom versus KT Rolster. And despite what people assume may happen in that series, I always love the Telecom war. You know, again, it just can't be overstated just how big this matchup is in Korean esports.
It's the biggest.
It is the biggest, yeah, and one of the longest lasting as well, if not the longest. Stretches back a long time.
Someday going to giggle while he runs away from a sapling. And Becky, no surprise, the only Korean jungler so far to play Vi.
All sorts of delicious food here in the studio today. We're not getting to eat any of it, though.
Sad times.
Yep. Feeling hungry now. Now I am hoping for 2-0. Stomach's growling.
Wow, how fickle you are, Doa.
I know. I can't help it. If I don't eat, I'll starve to death.
You wouldn't be a very good ascetic, Doa, because you can't starve yourself for beauty.
That's true.
I'm disappointed. You have to.
I wasn't made for television, apparently.
Leave this. You have to ignore the gross concerns of the flesh in order to experience the best possible match right now.
What
so
if
please,
you just avoid, like, healthy things? And then you have more time for the match. Like, I don't know.
KT lacking a bit in terms of a tank to run some interference. They're going to need to play a disengaged support with this, either Janna or Nami. Nagne's Ezreal has been quite potent, would be a bit of a farm lane. We've seen that matchup played quite a bit, Ezreal versus Xerath in the mid lane. And they could be going for that backline poke. I think that's actually really smart. It's against Xerath's mobility, having the Ezreal Graves ultimates just to chunk him out or maybe even kill him.
Oh boy, if they go with Kog'Maw though, if they try to run the Juggermaw, that's particularly vulnerable against the Vi, I feel.
I think they'd be much better off going with the Graves right here, actually.
Yeah.
But they're going to lock in the Kog'Maw.
Oh boy, here we go. Inspired by CJ, they're like, well, if they can do it, we can do it. Here comes the Juggermaw. Well, and they picked it into Vi. What do you think about that?
I think that Maokai is still available, and that would cause them even further problems. They can pick Maokai Janna right here.
Yep.
And feel okay about this team composition and the amount of engage that they have onto KT Rolster. And Marin has been preferring to play that Maokai. They could also just take Hecarim, frankly. Either would be very good against this.
Nothing is stopping Hecarim from getting into the back lines onto Kog'Maw. And those shields don't work quite as well when you're feared during a lot of the duration of it.
Right, you can wait out the storm, as it were.
Yep.
I don't think they should take Annie. I think they have enough. No. They should take Janna here for the peel, as opposed to getting more engage. You have Vi Maokai. That is sufficient amounts of engage.
Or not. Wolf is taking the Annie anyway, in defiance of Monte Cristo's wishes.
He did play really well on it last time, and if he's comfortable on that champion, I can understand. But we did see the Maokai-Annie combo in our last game, and it really wasn't able to put much of a dent into the Juggernaut composition. They did get behind early, however.
I think Janna would be a great pickup. I'm surprised SKT left this open because it's
I think you definitely take the Janna right there.
It's another shield for Kog'Maw as well, too.
I don't know why they didn't. I think SKT should have taken the Janna, but we'll see if they actually pay for it. That's just another tool for disengage, and like you said, another shield.
You could argue, though, that if you catch Lulu, if you catch Janna with this heavy engage comp, you can deny those shields from being on Kog'Maw because the person who would put them there is dead. So that's one way to go about handling it, I can see.
The issue is that if you use those cooldowns, well, then you don't have them for Kog'Maw, and then he just runs around and kites you with Trinity Force. So there's a bit of give and take right there. That's why this composition works so well. It's just hard to play properly. Well, we'll see if they can do it.
I mean, a lot of pressure is going to be on Arrow to have the proper positioning in team fights because, again, we've seen you have to really walk that tightrope as the AD carry on Kog'Maw to stay close enough to do damage, but just far enough away that you deny a lot of that engage. And it's going to be, I think Arrow's going to have a bit of a challenge with that.
Yeah, I'm a bit leery about this, especially, you said, with that Vi being picked up, but maybe KT will be able to pull this one out and turn it into a win. I'm nervous, though. Very nervous.
Me too. We'll see if they can handle it. Here we go, guys. Game 1, SKT versus K2. Who's going to take it? Let's get in the game.